race fans, and welcome to the Daytona International Speedway. We are getting set to take the green flag and set the official starting lineup for the Daytona 500 coming up here on Sunday. I am Michael Norman, the voice of the Budweiser All-Pro Series, being joined in the booth by fellow Budweiser All-Pro Series driver Seth Cole. And Seth, you're sitting pretty in duel number 2, I believe, so getting a nice bird's eye view of the first race here.
Yeah, and the first race is going to be interesting, right? Because we were talking during pole day qualifying how, based off of the go or go homers, the positions that they qualified in as far as speed is concerned, we've got only 2 go or go homers here in duel number 1. We know that Robbie Gilvin and David White, they're going to transfer in, being the only 2 go or go homers here. So basically, for all these drivers now, it's a matter of making sure they get themselves the best possible starting spot in the Great American Race. You know, we always end up having that one calm duel and that one aggressive duel. This one might be the calm one, since everybody knows they're going to be in the main event show.
I don't know. Did you watch the clash?
I did, but yeah, I mean, the desperation won't be nearly as high in this duel, I don't think, as it will be in the other duel, because we've got 6 go or go homers battling for 2 spots in that one.
That's true. Everyone here is going to be in the field no matter what. So this is all, except for Trent Dunham, this is all about trying to get the best starting spot. Is this this entire duel will set mostly the inside lane for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, there's going to be a little bit of finagling towards the tail end of this duel. Some drivers might have to be in the outside line. I was trying to, before we came on the air, trying to figure out in my head exactly what position it would be if you finished there or further back, that basically it would fill up the remainder of the field. I think it'd be somewhere around the last 3 or 4 finishers. They would end up like alternating between inside to outside line. But
yeah,
well, there was also another driver with an agenda in this race. Trent Dunham set the only sub 49 7 lap time, and subsequently got the pole, but he's got to keep that car in one piece here during this dual race. Doesn't want to have to go to a backup car and forfeit that inside front row starting spot.
Well, Seth, your age is playing with you again, because you got to remember Budweiser All-Pro Series rules. There is no damage for super speedways.
That doesn't mean
unless he blows an engine.
Problem.
That's true. He could still blow an engine. But in terms of getting in...
Yes, see? I mean, the point still stands. I'm old, but you see?
Pace car down, coming through the Geico restart zone. Green flag is out. We're underway in duel number 1. Look at Trent. Immediately goes to the outside. Tries to block a bit of any run that Robbie was going to have. And we'll see what happens. He's going to ride the middle lane, see if he's going to choose to stay with the top lane, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, interesting there, right? I thought that at least in the early going, we'd see the 2 Chevy bow ties of Dunham and Baker work together on that inside line, but Trent moving up there with the Fords and opens up the door for that number 43 out of Legacy Motor Club to be able to edge ahead through 3 and 4.
Be quiet, Seth, you're old.
Trim the hedges.
Well, I mean, Trent is also known as Trent the Edgy.
There you go. You see? I mean, I appreciate the fact that you've twice now tried to save me from saying something stupid and it hasn't worked, but, you know.
Well, we're going to go 3 wide for the lead, and look who it is on that inside lane trying to go for the lead. That's the 16, Anthony McCurry.
Yeah, Anthony, of course. So we documented this beginning of the week in a car that has 2 super speedway victories last year with Rob Crown Jr. and Anthony defending Great American Race winner. It's a deadly combination, I think, here coming into this one in Speed Weeks. And you got to think, too, that a lot of drivers would be looking at that 16 as, primary number 1 car that they'd want to draft with, because they have to know it's going to be fast here this week.
Absolutely. These cars getting up to full speed. Now running about 190, 195 miles per hour here as we have battle for the lead again. Here comes Zach Rogers to the inside, being pushed by Sema Ozkin in the 18.
Yeah, he passed his Storehouse Racing teammate Jonathan Zorlin there for the top spot. I think Zorlin actually moved up to the middle line and opened up the door for the Smithfield Ford Mustang. And also on that inside line, you've got new driver for RFK Racing, piloting the number 17, Matt McIntyre. Remember, too, we ended up having the conversation of it looked like a lot of drivers ended up having their cars set up with their race setup, not really with their qualifying setup. And so we knew they were going to be some of the ones to watch when we got to these dual races. Both the RFK cars looked like they were set up for race only and not for qualifying speed. And we immediately see here, less than 4 laps in, the 17 make his way up here to the front.
Seth, what was that about it? This being the calm duel?
Yeah, well, I mean, here's the thing though, okay? Daytona is a somewhat spacious track in terms of being able to hold them three wide. When you see the space, about half a car length of space between them, inside to middle, middle to outside, that's calm racing. It looks like it's absolute pandemonium, three wide all the way back through the field, but these drivers actually are in a bit of a comfort zone right now. As long as they have the space in case there's a little bit of a slip up and they have the ability to gather it back up, this is a relatively calm type of three wide racing that you can see at super speedways.
Well, we have our first one-car breakaway amongst the three wide. That's Cole Deaver, won the Daytona 500 2 seasons ago. He's out here pulling away from the three wide action right behind him, and from last to second, here comes Charlie Buxton in that 51.
Now, we've talked about how the seems like the EGR cars, the Childress cars specifically, they end up having really good super speedway engines. You mentioned Deaver, Daytona 500 2 seasons ago, McCrory, also then for RCR, winning the 500 last year, even the 16 when Roberto Crown Jr. won a couple of times last season at super speedways. That was a car that gets a lot of its technical alliance with Richard Childress Racing. So yeah, if you got an RCR engine underneath the hood, you got to feel pretty good about it this weekend.
Now, another thing we haven't talked about, but it could very well become a possibility here, fuel mileage.
Mm-hmm.
These cars can run about 28 to 31 laps on fuel.
Does to me, I don't think you want to be out in front very much in this race because that would put you right around that 28 mark, right? You'd be consuming the most fuel, creating the draft for everybody behind you. Now, keep an eye on some of the drivers that might just linger at the back of the pack here, half throttle, throw in the clutch, save a little bit to be able to make it the full scheduled distance. Is Allie Rain out in front here? I mean, Allie Rain got the season started off right with that win in the Clash. It'd be interesting to see if maybe she can go 2 for 2 and picking up checkered flags here and win her dual race as well.
Yeah, that's very true. And not only that, but if we see a caution flag, that could definitely help with some of that pit strategy there.
Yeah, that's the big question of do you come down pit road and top off the fuel tank, or do you stay out and try to clutch to save to make it the rest of the way? May get some split decisions there. One driver I have noticed is kind of faded to the back is that one of Trent Dunham, trying to make sure that nothing bad happens. But I almost wonder if you Trent Dunham, we know his car was set up for qualifying, obviously obliterated the rest of the field, capture the pole position, but I wonder late in this race, would he get brave, try and figure out what that car feels like in traffic? Can he charge it back up to the front?
Well, I guess we're going to find out because he's still hooked to the back of this pack on the inside road there as Allie Rain just doing like she did in the Clash, controlling the draft.
Exactly the same way. And remember, we talked about her, we talked about Daniel Voiles, drivers that we saw in the Clash be able to get to the front and stay at the front. And we didn't see them set very good laps in qualifying. Felt that they really didn't make any changes to those race cars in preparation for these duels. It'll be interesting to see in duel number 2 if the 62 gets to the front, if he's able to do the same thing. And look at this, Storehouse Racing going to have a 2-car breakaway here. Jonathan Zorlin's going to pull right up to the back bumper of the 14.
Yeah, there's three out of the 4 Stuart Haas cars in this first duel. Now, I was gonna say they were gonna look like they might be able to tandem draft, but then the 41 Zorline gonna pull to the inside here. We also got both RFK cars in this duel. We've got both of the 2 out of the 4 Childress cars in this duel. So it should be very interesting to see if teammates can work together. Both of the front row, 2 out of the 3 front row cars in this duel as well.
A couple of our former playoff drivers. Madeline Crenshaw in the 7, made into the Final Four last year. Nathan Ormond there in the 23. Had both of the 2311 cars make it into the playoffs last season with Ormond and Benjamin Miles. So they've got another driver that's going to be attempting to make it into the 500 later on today. The third entry with Kenny McCrory.
Man, look at this. 3x3 up at the front. Allie still controlling the draft. We're a third. We're at the end. At the completion of this lap, we'll be a third of the way through duel number 1.
But again, going back to that conversation of the possible fuel window, I'd be a little bit worried if I'm that 14 card. Yeah, you've got a strong machine. You're out in front. You're controlling the draft behind, but you are consuming an awful lot of fuel. So, with the fact that the minimum you could go 28 laps on a tank of fuel, that says to me that that would be for a driver that spends a lot of time out in front. So Allie Rain right now, while we don't obviously know the fuel numbers of the Mahindra Tractor's Ford Mustang, I would have to assume they'd be closer to the 28 number than a bunch of these other drivers in the field.
Yep, that's very true. As we have one of our two go or go home drivers coming up here through the field battling for second place.
Yeah, David White, very fortunate, along with Robbie Gilvin, to qualify their way here into this duel. They don't really have to worry about battling each other for a transfer spot. The only two go or go homers, so they know they will be racing in the 500. So a little bit of an opportunity here for drivers that have not raced full time in the Budweiser All Pro Series to get some reps, turn some laps, get a little bit more adapted to the racing style of the drivers around them in preparation for this Sunday's race.
Battle for the lead now. Here comes Henry Sanford in the 78 machine. Going to try to go down low for the lead. And look who's the first car in the inside lane. Our pole sitter.
Yeah, Trent Dunham making his way back up here to the front.
Oh, I thought they were going to go 4 wide.
Yeah, it was, I think, Qualls tucked in behind Allie Rain. Otherwise, they would have been 4 wide down this back straightaway. And how about Henry Sanford? For sometimes for a driver, you just need a little change of scenery. Had some struggles last year with Penske Racing when he piloted the number 22. But moving over here to BJ McLeod Motorsports, single car entry, but we know a very strong entry. Laura Chung, the defending champion of the series, put this very car in championship victory lane 1 season ago.
There we go. 3 wide for the lead. The outside lane attempting to get the better advantage here. We've got Bern Oliveira in the number 9 challenging on the inside. And now we're 3 wide, several rows deep for the race lead.
And if you look on that inside line, we're finally starting to see, outside of the 14 and the 41 working together, we really didn't see any teammates or manufacturers hooking up. Now you got Chevy bow ties lined up 1, 2, 3 on that inside line, the 9, the 43, and the 16. Your friends are where you find it, but you certainly want to have that manufacturer alliance if you can. Have as many of those teammates up towards the front in the starting lineup for the Daytona 500, so that way you can kind of control the draft in the early going.
Sanford led that lap. Coming up on halfway here in dual race number 1.
With this 3 wide, several rows deep, you got to think that the drivers will be taking part in the second duel, specifically the go or go homers. They've got to be observing, taking notes, trying to figure out, okay, on the final run of this race, of my respective race, where do I want to be positioned to make sure that I'm going to be up front as close as possible to the lead, if not the race leader, to guarantee myself a spot into the 500. I mean, we ended up having, Michael, that storyline where we almost had a driver locked into the 500 leaving pole day qualifying. Robbie Gilvin spent his moment up on the front row most of that qualifying session before he was eventually knocked off of second place by Levi McIntyre. So, outside of that, nobody else had a guaranteed spot in the 500. And then Robbie Gilvin, obviously, along with David White, they got the benefit of being in this duel. But it was about to be that a driver wasn't even going to have to worry about the duels. They were going to be locked into the 500 already.
Yeah, and that was very close too. Like you said, Levi come out with a very flying lap here, which I guess it was.
Too,
yeah,
it was the car out?
It was the second to last car out.
Yeah.
Coming through here, Henry Sanford. The cross flags are out. We are halfway through dual race number 1 with Henry Sanford leading. We're going to step aside, take a quick commercial break, and be right back with more action here at Daytona. We are back here at the Daytona International Speedway. We have a new leader, Anthony McCurry, out front now, trying to control and manage the draft. And at number 16, Colleague Racing, showing a pretty strong run here. It's either that or Anthony just really knows how to get around Daytona.
I think it's a combination of both. I mean, Anthony showed last year that he's very good when it comes to being in the right place at the right time at the end of these super speedway races. But to your point, though, too, I think that we've ended up getting a little bit of an education that a driver, they can get out there in front and they can control the draft. Allie Rain did it when she got out in front. We saw Cole Deaver do it when he got out in front. So these drivers are going to school and realizing that it is possible to be able to manipulate the draft, bring whichever line you want to you, but not allow them enough momentum to be able to get around you. But how about that? Matt McIntyre going to slip his way on by. Oh, almost had him cleared through the tri-oval. He'll stay down on the inside line, try and pick up fellow Mustang R.J. Bishop in the 12.
Yep, he led the lap. Matt McIntyre did. We'll see where RJ goes. Gonna stick down to the inside here. We gotta remember here too, wherever you finish, that's good. Aside from 23rd, there's got to be 22 rows in the Daytona 500, and with 23 cars on the racetrack here, it's gonna be pretty bad if you start further on in the back. Look at the 17 trying to side draft the 16. Did you see that?
He was all over the left rear quarter panel there. It's I don't know if Anthony knew he was there, if the spotter made him aware, but if he didn't know, he could have very well come down and gotten turned off the nose of the 17. That was a gutsy move there by Matt McIntyre, and
got him the lap.
It got him the lap, but Anthony held pretty well there on that top side. There was a gap from him back to Samet Ozkan, about a car length between him and the 18, and he still held pretty well there to the right rear quarter panel of Matt McIntyre and alongside of R.J. Bishop.
Matt McIntyre will take the lead now, run the middle lane, try to block any of the momentum runs that these cars get. Look at him go to the outside now to block the 16 cars run. Here comes the inside row there. R.J. Bishop going to try to stay a little towards the middle. You know, it's amazing to see how the outside gets the run off the corners compared to, you know, the shortest way around the racetrack. And then, of course, the drafting help a lot on the outside as well.
You know, we were talking about how now at 10 laps to go, the drivers are right within the window to be able to make it this entire race. But there were a couple of drivers we were concerned about that spent some time out in front in that clean air and used up a lot of fuel. I've actually been kind of taking a look at drivers that we really haven't seen come up to the front, have been kind of riding at the back for most of this race. And a couple that kind of jump out to me, the 38, the 6, the 31. These are drivers that really have not made their way to the front. Actually, Robbie Gelvin as well. He's dropped back there in the 28 car and has not really made his way anywhere up to the front since starting up there with pretty good track position. So this says to me, these are some of the drivers that might be trying to save some fuel to make it the entire scheduled distance.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see because it is going to definitely be close. Up here, two Ford breakaway up at the front here. Don't count on R.J. Bishop as well. I mean, he had a couple of good races last season. Really couldn't get off the ground in that for driving for Penske there, but we'll see if this season's going to be any better for him. Look at this middle lane here. They're going to just get a little bit sideways. It's like Larry Mack says, these cars are dancing all around, and it's not them doing it on purpose. It's just the air that these cars create being side by side like this.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're in that middle line, you are the most unsteadiest of any of the cars on the racetrack because you've got the air from the left of the cars on the inside, the air from the right, the cars on the right side. It's really difficult, even on the straightaway, to be able to keep the car pointed in a straight direction. You're bobbing and weaving all the way down.
Oh my gosh, we have a big wreck. Someone is upside down. The 9 car is upside down on the back straightaway. The 43, the one's involved. The 6 of Dylan Pote, and the 9 is just sliding on his roof down the back straightaway.
What in the... They must have tried 4 wide or something there. I didn't see it.
I believe we are going to get a restart. We are coming to 6 laps to go. This could be a green-white checker restart, But if these cars weren't going to make it on fuel, now is your chance, and this is where this is where your pit crew is going to come into play here.
I think if you're this late in the run, you haven't come to pit road yet. You probably aren't going to. I think all these drivers are probably going to stay out.
So we'll wait and see.
Trent Dunham thinking, thank you, that there's no damage. Otherwise, he would have forfeited his pole position for the Daytona 500.
I guess I'll have to wait and see. We're going to wait and see if these cars come down pit road before we go back and take a look at the accident here.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out in my head what could have the 9 car over. It had to have been an attempt at 4 wide, but it's in such a strange spot, right? Like it's coming out of turn number 2 onto the back straightaway. Normally, if they end up forcing the issue 4 wide, we see it when they're entering into a corner, like into 1, into 3, or even into tri-oval. So it'll be interesting to see how that all actually culminates.
Yeah, for real. I'm just going to wait and see here. Top 10 currently as they run. It's Matt McIntyre, Anthony McCurry, Cole Deaver, Sam Oskin, Charlie Buxton, RJ Bishop, Zach Rogers, Marcus Schuenberg, Henry Sanford, and Reggie Folkelman. And you're right, Seth. No one's coming to pit road.
I think if they were close on the numbers, gonna have about 2 pacing laps here, if not 3, to be able to save some fuel.
Alright, so let's see what happened with the 9. See, it's them coming through the turn. They're still 3 wide at this point.
Yep.
Still 3. Oh, look at Dylan Poteet right there. Poteet and the...
Oh,
no! Oh! It wasn't even 4 wide. It wasn't even 4 wide.
At the 14 of Valley Rain, I think.
It seemed like a bump in the corner.
Yeah, got him in the left rear quarter panel there or something.
Right there. You see him right here.
Well, notice how Poteet is kind of a half groove up on Henry Sanford.
Hits David White, comes up into the 9 of Burton Oliveira, and Oliveira just flips over just from hitting the wall. Cole Baker then turns Poteet down into Trent right there. That almost is kind of reminiscent of Ricky Rudd's wreck in the 2000 Bud Shootout. Just kind of flip over and run and ride the rest of the way on his roof.
I'm wondering if Poteet saw something up ahead that caused him to check up, because as I mentioned, he was about a half groove higher than Henry Sanford. I mean, look at the 78 down there, close to the left rear quarter panel of Zach Rogers. I'm wondering if Poteet thought there was going to be a wreck ahead of him, checked up, and Valley Rain couldn't get the bumpers lined up with the 6 and hooks him around.
That was some good wreck avoidance there by Qualls.
Absolutely. That one was weird.
Yeah, it was. Alrighty, let's go ahead and accelerate this to see at what point when we are going back to the green flag here. It looks like we're going to get a 3-lap shootout. Oh! There is a car with a mechanical problem back there, though. That looks like to be Jonathan Zorline. I think his engine let go because he is not even keeping up to speed here.
I think you're right. Either that, or did he run out of fuel?
No, there's smoke coming out of the back of his car.
Well, that's unfortunate for Zorlin. At least he knows he is going to be taking part in the 500, but he will more than likely be starting, if not shotgun, in the final row.
Jonathan Zorline had a good race going. Car blows up under caution. Hopefully he can turn.
I think, actually, no, he took the lead at one point from Alley Rain.
Hopefully he can get it off the racetrack before these cars come by and the caution doesn't come back out. We're going to wait and see. Pace car dives on the pit road. Green flag is back out for a 3-lap shootout here at Daytona.
Single file restart. Let's see as these things get up to full song. How anxious are they to get back to that 3 wide all the way through the field that we've seen for most of this duel?
Cole Deaver gonna be the first to go to the inside, try to take the momentum with him. Where will Simmet Oskin go?
And no teammates that were light up nose to tail either. Be able to kind of put together an alliance. A couple of Fords back there, well, they were working together, but then Schuenberg jumped down to the inside of Zach Rogers and split them up.
Zornline able to get to pit road, so there should not be another caution flag. And I guess we'll see now if these cars are still going to be able to make it.
Remember what's at stake for these drivers up here at the front, an opportunity to start third for the Daytona 500 behind Trent Dunham. Now, Trent obviously does not have either of his Trackhouse Racing teammates in this duel. We'll see them both in duel number 2. You have to think he would like to have a Chevrolet win this duel, though, and have a fellow Bowtie behind him when he takes the green.
Sema Oskin to the lead. He's going to go to the outside, see if maybe the run's going to help him. Here comes RJ Bishop and Marcus Schuenberg on the inside, and just as we said before, the outside lane gets a good run, but he's unable to clear it, and here comes RJ to the inside.
Got a big push there from the 42 of Schuenberg. Got Henry Sanford, who we know has a strong race car. He's making his way back up here on the inside line, but only 2.5 miles left to decide it as we're almost 3 wide crossing the line for the lead.
White flag, 1 lap to go. Can Cole Deaver make the outside lane work? This is going to be interesting. Looks like they're going to be 3 wide for the race lead.
Rows are pretty even too, right? You got 5 on the top, you got 5 on the bottom, 6 in the middle, so not really going to be an advantage to either line down this back straightaway.
We're going to see. This is going to be very interesting. Outside lane looking to get the run. Look at the 18. Push Cole Deaver.
Yeah, Bishop's clear to move to the bottom if he so chooses. Well, maybe not. 42 back to his left rear quarter panel.
The 3 trying to side draft.
Oh, he's got some space between him and the 18 though. I think RJ may have the advantage through the tri-oval. Here comes the 42 back on the bottom. Deaver back on the top.
3 wide at the line. I think RJ Bishop just got it.
I think you're right.
Yep. Scoring says RJ Bishop wins duel number 1 in a 3 wide battle.
5 100ths separating the top 3 there. That inside line was really good there on the entrance to 3 to the center of 3 and 4. And that top line with Cole Deaver got a great run out of turn 4, making it really close there for this win.
Yeah, that was very, very close. And they're still 3 wide even on the cooldown lap.
Yeah, they're saluting the fans.
Either that or they're wondering who actually won. Because that was definitely a very close finish. Look at the standings here. Here are your official standings. As these cars drive down, take another lap around this racetrack.
Ford so far is 2 for 2 and getting checkered flags in speed weeks.
Yeah, that is true. 2 for 2, and that was, I mean, I'm still breathless there. That was a heck of a finish.
3 wide all the way back through. They raced hard, but they raced clean there. That could have very easily been a bunch of race cars split up with maybe a caution on the final lap if someone made a mistake, and they did a very good job of making it back. There was the whole question of fuel maybe being a concern, but that caution might have been exactly what they needed to have that aggressive level kicked up in that final 3-lap shootout to the run to the checkered flag.
Yeah, absolutely. As RJ Bishop is going to head to victory lane to celebrate winning the dual race. Trent Dunham going to celebrate the fact that he's still on the pole for the Daytona 500. We're going to step aside, take another quick commercial break, and we will be right back with the start of duel number 2.
Warning. The Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Back here at the Daytona International Speedway as we are getting set for duel number 2. And Seth, this is going to be the one to watch here because you've got, as the go or go home cars, you've got to finish in the top 2 of those.
Yeah, Joey Stats, Emmanuel Hartnett, Cody Vaughn, Charles Jackson, Charles Buxton, and Kenny McCrory. 2 will move on, 4 will go home. Comes down between those 6 of the highest finishing 2 that are going to transfer into the Daytona 500. Oh no, yeah, by the way, you've got all the rest of the full-timers that are trying to have the best qualifying effort, either preserve the runs they got in Q or better what they had in pole day qualifying. And then you've got Levi McIntyre, who's trying to do exactly the same thing that Trent Dunham did, avoiding mechanical problems, keep the car in one piece, and he will be starting on the outside of the front row for the Great American Race.
What's got me interested in this duel is Matthew Rodriguez had a good qualifying run, but remember for the Clash, we saw him at the back of the field, barely hanging on to the draft almost the entire race.
It's also going to be interesting to watch Jessica Schulten in the 20 car, the slowest in qualifying, and we thought that maybe she had her car set up for race setup, but was very off the pace, even with some drivers that we also assumed had a race setup. So we'll see what she's able to do, making her way from the back. And I say keep an eye still on that 62 of Daniel Boyles. We saw drivers like Ali Rain and Cole Deaver and Anthony McCurry, when they got to the front in Duel 1, they controlled the draft. Daniel Boyles did that in the Clash. Let's see if he can do that in the Duel.
All right, here we go. Pace car is going to dive off onto pit road. Flagman's got the green flag in his hand. The duel race number 2 here at Daytona is green.
Also see if Ford can be 3 for 3 in picking up checkered flags here in Speed Weeks. They're already 2 for 2.
I see a 3 wide already in the back. And here comes Matthew Rodriguez already to the inside.
Almost wonder if Levi McIntyre might be just trying to get out of Dodge here. Gets taken 3 wide with Miles on the top and Rodriguez on the bottom. Matt Rod's got a fellow blue oval behind him and Zachary Fitzwater. And here comes one of those go or go home drivers on the inside line, the 0-1. That is
That's Cody Vaughn.
Cody Vaughn, yeah.
Yep, Cody Vaughn to the inside. That's the 4th RCR car. Imagine if RCR
Cars behind him. You got the 91 Charles Jackson, the Trackhouse racing car.
And as of right now, the go or go home cars is Charles Jackson and Cody Vaughn.
Correct.
But we've still got 28 more laps to go.
And again, the same fuel window as we had in duel number 1. Couple of things that are different, though, from the first duel to this second duel is we may not see a caution that would allow drivers to save fuel. But another thing, too, you talked about it before we ended up coming back on the air, was we've got some cloud cover here, which means that there's a little bit more grip, which means that the speeds are going to be a little bit higher. Higher speeds usually means more fuel consumption. So something for these drivers to kind of squirrel away for later on in this race.
Kyle Matthews leads this lap, but here comes Charles Jackson on the inside. Charles wasting no time, trying to get up to the front.
Trent Dunham had to go it alone. The lone Trackhouse car in duel number 1. You got the other 2 Trackhouse machines here in duel 2. Charles Jackson and Charles Sanford. Sanford is quite a ways back there. I think he's the next to last car on the inside line, but the 91, 99 might be able to find each other here late and work together to start up there inside of the top. Well, it'd be with inside the top 6 if they finish with the win and second place with their Trackhouse teammate Trent Dunham in the official Daytona 500 starting lineup.
Here comes previous season champion Laura Chung to the inside in that number 11.
And her teammate.
Yep, and her teammate right behind her. That is Carson Gum.
First time we're really seeing teammates work together here in either of the duels. We did see the Stewart-Haas racing cars hook up for a moment in duel 1, but not for very long. Wasn't long till they started battling. And then you got another of the Joe Gibbs racing cars back there, Jessica Schulten. She's very quickly working her way to the front, 4th on that inside line. Remember, the other 3 Joe Gibbs racing cars in this duel. Samet Oskan was the lone JGR representative in duel 1.
Carson Gum going to try the inside, being pushed by Nick Gunther. A couple of Fords on the inside row. Charles Sanford trying to make his way up here. It's a little hard to see exactly where the go or go home drivers are. I mean, you can see them visually, but it's hard to tell exactly where they're at. As they cross the start and finish line this time around, our go or go home cars are going to include. Let's see, I don't see.
Jackson's one of them.
Yeah, Charles Jackson in 10th place right now. And the 44, that's Charles Buxton in 12th.
Yeah, but we're about to have it 3 wide between go or go homers there because the 61 of Kenny McCurry is on the inside of the 44 and the 91. So 3 wide right there for 2 transfer spots.
Yep, there we are right there. The 44 still kind of nudging ahead. Seems to be like right now the inside lane's the best line to be. There's Jessica Shelton pushing Charles Belding out to the race lead.
Yeah, Belding ended up starting, I believe, 21st in this duel. Shelton started back in 23rd, and they're already up here to the front.
And here comes Charles Sanford now to the inside. He's going to try to take the lead. You got to remember one thing. Some of you don't know this, but back when the Budweiser All-Pro Series was allowed custom paint schemes with custom cars, they were on a team. Actually, the 3 of them are Shelton, Kyle Matthews, and Charles Sanford were all on one team back in the day.
Right.
Oh, look. Another driver who was slow during qualifying, it's Dylan Young, and now he's made his way to the front of the field.
Yeah, rolled off 22nd on the grid, so you had 21st, 22nd, and 23rd. I think they're all going to cross inside the top 5 here on this lap. Well, no, the 15 of Charles Buxton is actually, or Belding rather, is actually going to cross in, what was that, ninth place, but he was actually up at the front for a moment, so we were seeing it here, I guess, in the early going. You start towards the back, doesn't take you very long to be able to work your way to the front, so super speedway racing, when it works out that way, it's kind of a domino effect. You're trying to work out in your head, if I'm at the back of the pack on this lap, will I be up at the front when taking the checkers? So it's kind of a moving chess game for these guys. Is get the new colors there on the 77. Christina Bell working her way up to the front. She's bringing Emmanuel Hartnett with her. Case in point, Hartnett started this race up. I think he was 4th on the grid. And he is going to be now back up at the front after dropping all the way to the back in the beginning stages.
Boy, it was definitely very close between the 77 and the 47 for that lap. And look at the 47 get shoved on the outside lane. But again, it doesn't matter.
An outside line can work with that 3-wide battle we had to the line in duel number 1. Deaver made it very close on the extreme outside line against the eventual winner, R.J. Bishop, in the middle line.
Emmanuel Hartnett all by himself on the outside now. Looks like he couldn't quite get clear. Here comes Joey Stats in the 4th RCR car, that number 33. He's going to try to take the lead.
That was the 2nd highest of the go-or-go homers in pole day qualifying. Was 8th in overall qualifying lap times and subsequently started up pretty well here in the lineup for the duel race, but kind of the same as Hartnett, fell to the back, now working his way to the front. Here comes Matthew Rodriguez, who led the first lap of the duel.
Yep, Matthew Rodriguez up here. Comes Cody Vaughn and Charles Jackson on the inside lane.
We ended up having that caution for something that we weren't even really expecting back in the first duel. I mean, most of our contact incidents here this entire Speed Weeks has been borderline 4-wide racing. We've really seen them give a lot of space with this 3-wide racing, but a bit of a contact from right front to left rear quarter panel led to the contact that brought about that yellow flag. It'll be interesting to see if we have something like that here. I mean, these drivers, again, as I mentioned, had to have been observing duel number 1, kind of making a list of do's and don'ts for this duel number 2, and I'll bet that they probably had top of their list, stay away from that left rear quarter panel.
Yeah, exactly. After what happened in the first duel there, here comes Zachary Fitzwater. Now he's going to take the lead, and Charles Jackson on the inside. We'll see if the 4 car stays clear of the 91. But here comes a big shove by Kyle Matthews. We tried to block it, but he couldn't.
Whether Charles Jackson wanted to make the move or not was kind of a moot point too, right? Big shove from that Valvoline Chevrolet of Kyle Matthews, who certainly is looking for a resurgence year after the struggles he had in that Hendrick Chevrolet Camaro last season.
Yeah, he was the definition of struggles last season. I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he finished dead last in points, and he stayed there
nowhere to
practically
go
the
but
whole
up.
season. Now Kyle Matthews going to try to take the lead on the inside. We'll see if the 4-car, those Fords actually have a much smoother nose than the rest of them, can really push somebody, and we'll see what happens here. Battle of the Joe Gibbs cars now on the side by side for second. Kyle Matthews going to pull away with the race lead.
A couple of fast race cars have kind of been stuck in the middle line, boxed in, not really been able to make their way up to the front. The 62 of Daniel Voiles, the 48 of Cody Lamas. Really seen them be able to get up to the front. Same for William Brock in the 47. These are a few drivers that we saw be really strong up at the front of the field in the clash, and they've been just kind of mired back there, not made their way up into the clean air just yet.
Seth, the left side of your brain has taken the race lead.
Well, we're not exactly sure which side of my brain it is, to be honest with you. It could be the left side, could be the right side, could be the inside, could be the outside.
Ooh, he tried to come down a block, but the inside had just such a good run. Here comes Belding once again, back to the inside. Leading the lap will be Belding, and that was quite a run that 15 car had. I noticed
Charles and Charles show on that inside line, and when we were looking at the starting grid, there is let me see if I can do the quick math in my head. There is about an 18.5% chance that a driver with the first name of Charles will win this duel. There are 4 Charleses in the field.
4 Charleses in the field for this duel. And look who's got the lead now, being pushed by one of her good friends.
Is it bad that I almost want it to be a Charles 1, 2, 3, 4 finish?
That'd be hilarious if it was.
Amazing.
I would just throw my hands up and say I quit. Dylan Young really pushed Shelton out to the lead.
Talked about those Fords and the ability to be able to push regardless of the manufacturer in front of them.
Now, here's a question for you. Now, being that the 61 is, 2311, do you still think there's a technical alliance between them and the JGR cars?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I think this is the best case scenario for Kenny McCurry, because you've got 3 of the Joe Gibbs racing cars and you've got one of the 2311 cars in here. So you've got 4 teammates, so to speak, that you are able to work with in this one. Now, the Toyotas were vastly outnumbered in the first duel. I think there were only 2 of them, if I recall correctly, in that duel with Samet Ozkan and Nathan Ormond. So bigger opportunity here for all the Camrys to be able to work together and try and get that 61 of McCurry into the field.
We'll see how long Shelton can control the draft here. This is going to be the halfway lap, but here comes Hartnett with a nice run on the inside, being pushed by Christina Bell. Let's see if I can name off all of our female drivers in the Bud All Pro Series. I know we have Laura Chung, we have Allie Rain, we have Christina Bell, Jessica Shelton, and I believe the last one is Madeline Crenshaw. So 5 female drivers in the Budweiser All Pro Series field for season 14. Same as last season.
I could have been mean and said that Henry Sanford, but I won't.
Yeah, I could have too, but I think we classify Henry Sanford as more of an it.
He's an it.
He's not cousin it. He's just it.
He's a question mark.
Leading that lap was Emmanuel Hartnett in the 50, but here comes. You talked about Daniel Voiles being held up. Second car in the inside lane trying to push Christina Bell.
At Wendy Chevrolet, and right behind him, you've got the 45 of Benjamin Miles. For a lot of drivers, they love these duels because it gives them the opportunity to improve where they would have started the Daytona 500 based off of pole day qualifying. But on the flip side, if you're a Benjamin Miles, you're looking and saying, hey, if we didn't have these dual races, I was going to be on the outside of row 2. I had the 4th fastest qualifying lap, and he could end up losing a ton of spots from where he was originally going to start to where he eventually is going to start. So for some drivers, it's about improvement. For other drivers, it's about preservation.
Hey, I wonder what the Wendy's Twitter account would tweet out if since Wendy's is getting pushed by McDonald's. The things you think about in the dual race. Christina Bell, here comes the outside lane once again. She should be clear. Maybe not. Oh, she's going to try it, though. But look at the inside get that run into the corner.
I think a big reason was because both the outside and middle line got checked up with the indecision by Christina Bell. Boyles wasn't sure if he was going to let the 77 in or not. Miles, Joey Stats, Matthew Rodriguez on the inside line, they had no debate on what they were doing. They kept the pedal to the floor.
Joey Stats is no stranger to Daytona. He's actually won a Bud Shootout race way back in the early days of the Budweiser All-Pro Series. And that was back in the old Generation 6 cars.
See, that's the interesting thing, too, about Joey Stats. You know, you look at him in a go-or-go capacity, and people think, well, you know, he has no experience in the Budweiser All-Pro Series. But to your point, he does have previous starts here in the Cup Series. Other drivers, though, like Cody Vaughn, David White that we saw earlier on, Kenny McCrory, these are drivers that if they make the 500, they would be making their first career starts, I do believe, in Budweiser All-Pro Series competition. So, yeah, that 33 is a bit of an anomaly in terms of the way drivers might kind of view him as a go-or-go-home driver, but kind of same deal as Charles Buxton, who's in that one-off there in the 44 car. He ran full-time last year, did Charlie Buxton and Charles Buxton. So now, you know, trying to make the 500, but not a stranger to this type of competition.
Absolutely. We are approaching 11 laps to go this time, and now look at the inside. We've got a couple of the Hendrick cars. We got for the 48, the 5, and then the 24 separated by the 44, but it's all Chevys. Right after the Toyota, or no, it is all Chevys. All Chevys on that inside row up until the 11 of Laura Chung.
Got a couple of the Hendrick, well, actually 3 Hendrick cars down there on that inside line. The 48, the 5, and the 24.
Those are I think those are all the Hendrick cars in this. They hope they don't have the same fate as their teammate in the first duel.
Right? Yeah, Oliveira ended up flipping upside down and sliding down the back straightaway.
Cody Alam is now trying to get pushed by his teammate to the lead. 4 Chevys on the inside. And Buxton's part of them, too. Buxton trying to make the Daytona 500 right now as they run. It's the 91 and the 44. Cody's going to go to the outside to try to block the momentum. It's going to open the door for his teammate on the inside. Look at him actually block it, too.
Well, I know one thing I've noticed that's been entirely different from this duel to the duel that we had previously, and that's the fact that nobody has really seemed to be able to get out in front and control the draft. We end up seeing 3 or 4 drivers do that back in duel number 1. The lead has been very difficult to hold on to for anybody that gets out into that clean air. That inside middle line, they have conveyor belted up to the front. The top line keeps kind of dropping back, and then they just kind of rewind that rubber band and jump back up to that inside line, back up to the front.
And then right as you say that, now Kyle Matthews able to get out in front to control.
But the thing that's been interesting about that is with nobody being able to hold on to the lead and the position's constantly changing, it's made it very difficult to keep track of who's in those transfer spots for the go-or-go-homers. Those spots are constantly changing lap after lap.
And again, right now, it's still being held by the 44 and 91.
But they're both trapped on the outside line, so we know that they're going to be more than likely drifting to the back. Looks like the 61 is on the middle line. I'm trying to see who would be the next one, the inside line, to work up towards the front. I don't think we got any of our go-or-go-homers on the inside line.
The 50 of Emmanuel Hartnett, the very last car on the inside line.
There he is. Yep.
Look at the run that Kyle has off, just able to control the draft. Here comes Laura Chung as well, but watch the outside, get the run. See, the 5's going to go up to provide the drafting help to stall out the inside.
Pretty close to the lap where we ended up having the caution in duel race number 1, which led to the 3-lap shootout.
Which I think actually was this lap right here. I believe it was this lap, yeah.
It'll be interesting to see if they can make it past this point, because again, we don't know for absolute certain if these drivers can make it the full 30-lap distance on what they've got in the tank under complete green flag conditions.
Laura Chung.
With no pace laps to be able to save fuel.
Laura Chung got up to the back bumper of the 5, but stayed there. Didn't make a move.
Look who's right behind her. Levi McIntyre getting brave and working his way up here to the front. After he started on the pole, he kind of drifted and rode at the back. Now he's starting to figure out what that Shell Pennzoil Ford can do.
Kenny McCurry on the outside now. Up there, third car on the outside row, leading this lap still, Kyle Matthews. But now it looks like to me it's going to be Kenny McCurry and Cody Vaughn, the two transfers. Oh, Lord. They're getting a little dicey there. McCurry went to the middle lane.
Lining up those bumpers through the corner, and that's what led to that contact that eventually put us under caution in duel number 1.
This is going to be it. If these cars have to go to pit road, that's going to change up this entire race. And now William Brock going to control the draft now.
Yeah, William Brock, we end up seeing him do this in the Clash as well. Had a very strong car. I'm pretty certain this is the same vehicle that he drove in the Clash since he was 28th on the board in pole day qualifying. They obviously didn't decide to trim that car out for any extra speed. And he's doing exactly what he did in the Clash, moving to the bottom, moving to the top, controlling the lanes, and making sure he stays out in that clean air.
If a caution were to come out now, I think we would have a one-lap shootout if the caution came out this lap. But once they cross the line for lap 26, if a caution comes out, the race will more than likely end under yellow. Boy, look at the run he has over the rest of this field here. And that's just how these Gen 7 cars work. You know, side by side, it slows you down. Now, Shelton...
Really does. They're more susceptible to the side draft, I think, than any of the other generations of cars that NASCAR has had.
Shelton able to get clear. Going to try to bring Emmanuel Hartnett with her. Maybe Shelton going to try to run him down here.
Benjamin Miles back on that inside line, moving into, well, he moves into 4th, now looking for 3rd on Hartnett. Matthew Rodriguez right there as well. That 33 of Joey Stats lined up on the inside line once again.
Charles Jackson as well. Now look at Shelton. Gonna try to dive it to the inside, take the momentum with her. Neither one of those drivers has the help right now.
Yep, she's got a fellow Camry behind her. Brock's got a fellow Camaro behind him.
Oh, Lord, they're getting 3 wide and racy here. They know we're coming to 4 laps to go. They're going to run the outside gets, but Shelton's going to be able to lead the lap.
You mentioned at this point in time now, if a caution comes out, the race is over. We race back to the proverbial checkered flag and end the race under yellow. You think these drivers haven't been made aware of that? That's going to up the aggression even more, I think, for these guys.
Well, I thought they were going 4 wide back there, but you talked about proverbial teammates, and now the 45 did help the 20 out, and we'll see what happens now. The 45 going to go down and block the 33 car's run. Maybe that is going to help that outside row.
Yeah, I thought for a moment there Miles was going to move to the middle groove and open up the door for Joey Stats, but nope, stayed down there, keeps the 33 at bay. Maybe Jessica Shelton, Benjamin Miles going to work it out that they keep the field stacked up behind them.
This is about it. We'll know this lap if cars can't make it. 45 takes it. It's going to be pretty troublesome to try to come down pit road when you're 3 wide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're a driver right now that's boxed in that middle line or up against the outside wall, how in the world do you have a safe avenue onto pit lane if you've got drivers to your left that are not planning on coming to pit road till the conclusion of this race?
Look at this on the inside. Looks like it's going to be Stats and Charles Jackson that's going to transfer as of right now.
There's still more than 2 laps to go. I don't think they're going to hold those transfer spots because look at the inside line further
Oh, a couple of cars. Oh, we're going to go 4 wide. Here we go.
Some are pitting. 33's pitting.
5 cars, and 2 of them are go or go home. The 33 and the 44.
2 to go. Oh, boy. Someone's going to be committed, right? Someone's going to run this thing to the end.
Wow, right now, Emmanuel Hartnett and Kenny McCurry are the 2 transfers.
Breakaway of 7 cars up here at the front, but no guarantee that these 7 aren't going to be on pit road next time out of 4. Know that Charles Buxton and Joey Stats are hoping that the rest of the go-or-go homers can't make it on fuel. I think the 45 staying out.
Oh, Kenny McCurry's coming down pit road too. This time by the white flag is in the air. Benjamin Miles has it. Let's see. Crossing the line. It's Charles Jackson stays out. So it looks like it's going to be Emmanuel Hartnett and Charles Jackson.
Unless they run out of fuel.
Jackson, I think, is the only goer. Nope, the 0-1 is in this pack too, but we're going to have to wait and see. They're going to leave Shelton out, so it's very much guaranteed at this point that Shelton's going to definitely improve her starting spot in the Daytona 500.
Absolutely. Benjamin Miles right now looks like he may preserve his starting spot in the 500.
47 might be out of gas.
Dropping quickly. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that car is sputtering.
Oh no, here comes Emmanuel Hartnett to pit road. The 45 is going to win the duel number 2, and getting into the Daytona 500 is Charles Jackson and I think Cody Vaughn.
Wow, I don't understand that at all for Emmanuel Hartnett. If that thing was running out of fuel, you sputter that thing across the start finish line. You don't bring it to pit road. Daytona 500 starting spot on the line.
Absolutely. I don't know what happened, but Benjamin Miles is going to keep his 4th starting spot.
What a statement there for Toyota, right? I mean, we ended up seeing them, as mentioned, outnumbered in Duel 1. They had the numbers here in Duel 2. They made the most of it with Miles and Shelton, those Camrys, in 1st and 2nd. And not too far behind them, Laura Chung brought it home in 6th. So good performance out of the Toyota camp here in Duel 2.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and take a quick picture here of the finishing results. I mean, I was unbelievable.
Knew it was going to be close. We knew these drivers are going to be close on fuel. We didn't have a caution like we did in duel number 1. Some of them were able to make it. Like about half the field made it, and half the field did not.
Nobody finished a lap down, though, but our 2 transfers to the Daytona 500 out of this group, Charles Jackson and Cody Vaughn in the 0-1. Tough break for the third 23XI car. Kenny McCurry with the first to come down pit road, and Seth, this is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, we thought, with 2 to go, Emmanuel Hartnett, Kenny McCurry, that they were home free. They were going to make it into the Daytona 500. 2 laps later, landscape changes completely. Jackson and Cody Vaughn taking those spots. I mean, it's an opportunity for experimentation for drivers that already knew they were going to be locked into the Daytona 500 field. But yeah, got to be a heartbreak for those guys that had done a great job up there in that lead pack all day long, and it just came down to maybe a miscalculation of the numbers, or maybe just the circumstances of where you were in the field, the inability to be able to save some fuel to make it to the end. But that's what makes the Daytona 500 so important. Drivers are willing to make those kind of risky moves and those risky strategies to try and be in the starting grid.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Seth, I want to say thank you for joining me up here in the booth. Remember, it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And Jessica Shelton was going to start dead last, finished 2nd in the duel race, so she should be starting in the 6th position for the Daytona 500.
Yeah, if anything, I think a thing that we learned here from both of the duel races is drivers that may not have gotten the best qualifying results here for the 500 cannot lose heart. The ability to move your way through the field from the back of the pack to the front of the field is very easy to do, and it can be done quite quickly. So, to your point, not where you start, it's where you finish, but you're going to want to make sure that you keep that car on the straight and narrow, because it's going to be a pretty lengthy Daytona 500 as well. Can't win the race on the first lap, but you can certainly take yourself out of the picture on the first lap of the 500.
Absolutely. So thank you guys so much for watching a very cloudy day here at the Daytona International Speedway.
Yeah, it's going to rain because I'm here.
Yeah, it is. It really is. I'm surprised it didn't rain during the race and everyone just wrecked.
We got rain tires. They'd be fine.
All right, well, that's it. Up next, tomorrow, Sunday, the Daytona 500 here for the Budweiser All-Pro Series, getting ready to have our first official points race of the new season. Thank you guys so much for watching the starting lineup. We'll tell you guys about it at the Daytona 500. I am Michael Norman, and this is Seth Cole, and we'll say until we meet again.